Hey guys, it's Sam here, and I want to give you guys another top 5 list. So these are the top 5 family sedans that you can find under 30 grand with a manual. So I've been searching myself for a potential new daily driver. I've been thinking about trying to find a car that's a little more fun, especially because this past winter it was brutally long, and I had my Elise in winter storage for 4 months. So without being able to drive a manual transmission car and driving a boring automatic Yaris that puts me to sleep, I had the hankering to potentially upgrade to something a little more fun to drive on the daily. I thought of some criteria that I would personally like for a daily driver, sacrificing the very, very fuel efficient but boring Yaris. Basically, that's the only thing it's good for. And become a family man. So it has to be rear wheel drive. So in the wintertime, I can do some fun drifting in the snow. It has to be manual because automatic is boring and manual keeps you engaged. Next, it has to have 4 doors and a good back seat where real adults can fit in. So unfortunately, that gets rid of a lot of coupes like the FRS and things like that, where you could fit a large watermelon in the back seat, but real people, not so much. And lastly, I wanted to have some decent power. Now, the Yaris has 106 horsepower, and you have to ring it out real high in the RPMs to get any sort of acceleration out of it. But yeah, I just wanted something with a little more pep, preferably 0 to 60 in 6 seconds or less. Now, all of these cars are no older than the mid-2000s because, yeah, 10-year-old cars, 12-year-old cars are already pretty old, but getting even older than that, you're going to have a hard time finding low-mileage examples, and even then, reliability just from age is a factor. Also, with older cars, you have more risk of breaking down, and you don't want unhappy kids, wife, and that leads to unhappy life. So let's get on with this list. In order from what I think is most common and no-brainers to the more interesting ones, right? At number 5, we have the BMW 5 Series. Now, I categorize the 5 Series, all the models, as one entry on this list. So that does include the 530, 535, and 550. Sometimes 540s you can find, but really the main differences are the level of power, the price, and the mileage, right? And generations a little bit. 5 Series manuals aren't super common, especially because most of the demographic who buy 5 Series are family men who are not driver enthusiasts. So yeah, most of them will buy the automatics. You can find lower mileage 550i's of the Bangle generation, or newer 550i's with higher miles in the mid-20s to right under 30K. Now, you can find older Bangle era cars with a little bit higher mileage, about 100,000 for like 10 grand. But the thing is, I don't know if you would want to buy such a high mileage old BMW. Now, you might be able to find some with a little bit less miles for a little bit more. So, you know, every 10 to 20,000 miles under that 100,000 mark, you should expect to pay another 1,000, 2,000 more. Finally, they are really hard to find, but you might be able to snag an M5 of the Bangle era for under 30 grand. Now, mileage, you'll probably be looking at like 70,000 miles, but they are out there if you want to take that chance. Okay, at number 4, we have the 3 Series. And yeah, I don't want this list to start looking like they're going to be all BMWs, but I promise this is the last one. Now, the 3 Series is really the sweet spot when it comes to BMW, in my opinion. And I rank this above the 5 Series because they are a little more fun to drive, whereas the 5 Series are a lot heavier. You'll find that straight line acceleration is where they're more fun. But the 3 Series, handling is a little bit better. So with the 3 Series, you can find all the way down to the 328 manual rear-wheel drive sedans all day for about $6,000. Now they will be around the higher mileages, but this particular engine is fairly reliable and not that complicated. As a chassis, rear-wheel drive means no front differential and no turbos in this particular model. So higher mileages might be acceptable. The 335 is a great bang for your buck. You can find them about $12,000 for a 335 without crazy high miles, but you do have to run the risk of the turbos adding complications to the engines. But with a 0 to 60 in 5 seconds, you're going to be hard pressed to find a better bargain, especially when you're comparing it to the M3. Now the M3, you can find V8 M3s, the E90 series M3s, for under $30,000. Between $26,000 and $30,000, you can find a V8 that's in pretty good shape. Now with all the 5 Series models, I consider all these 3 Series models as one entry. All right, at number 3, I have the Cadillac CTS. Now you can find ATS newer ones for like around $25,000, but the ATS only comes with the 2.4 turbo engine, which really doesn't have enough power, in my opinion, for to make this list. Now the CTS kind of goes on that 5 Series where it's bigger and has more power, and there are a lot more lower mile examples and newer examples of CTSs compared to the BMW 5 Series. Now the CTS, you can find lower mileage but previous generation CTS for under $20,000. Now you can find first generation CTS Vs for this price range as well, but yeah, they're going to be the first generations most likely. So they're going to be pretty old and definitely look dated by now. And overall, I personally don't like the styling of Cadillac, so that's why it's only number 3 on my list. Okay, at number 2, this one comes in a little out of left field, but it's the Pontiac G8 GXP. Now, the Pontiac G8 GXP is a special GXP trim of the G8 sedan, and Pontiac has gone to the wayside, and they're not sold in America anymore. But if you can find one, it's basically a cheap GM vehicle stuffed with an LS motor from a Chevrolet Corvette. So yeah, you can understand how performance might be pretty good on this sedan. 0 to 60 comes in with that LS motor in under 6 seconds, but unfortunately the interior isn't really quite up to par. In addition, these cars are really, really rare because A, Pontiac isn't around anymore and they weren't sold in very high quantities up until they weren't sold anymore. In addition, it's a GXP trim, which is a lot more rare. And so you're gonna have trouble finding them, but if you do find a nice example, expect to pay around $25,000. Okay, I wanna give you guys a few honorable mentions, and the first honorable mention goes to the Mazda RX-8. Yes, the Mazda RX-8, because technically it does have 4 doors, those 2 suicide doors on the back, and the back seat is there, although it's more like a coupe because it's a 2+2. The backseat is not somewhere you want to have adults that you respect back there. Yeah, you probably won't be able to fit too much or real life size adults back there, so that's why it's an honorable mention and it gets disqualified from this list. Next up, in the honorable mentions, we have the Lexus IS250. And yes, you might think, okay, Lexus, right? That's a reliable car. It's pretty luxurious. It's got 4 doors. It's got a decent sized back seat where you can place real adults in. Comes in a manual, and it has a V6 Lexus motor. What's the big deal? Why is it not on the list? And the reason is, it's the 250 model. The 250 has a 2.5 liter V6, which only puts out a hair over 200 horsepower. 0 to 60 is in the 7s. So it's not quite fast enough for my list. And unfortunately, the 350, which is over 300 horsepower out of its 3.5 liter. Just it doesn't come in manual. Ugh, why? Why can't we have nice things? So unfortunately, those are my two honorable mentions. And at number 1, the top spot goes to the Infiniti G37 Sedan. Now the G37 Sedan is currently the front runner in my potential daily car replacement. The G37 comes with a 3.7 liter V6 that puts out over 330 horsepower, and 0 to 60 comes in at under 5 seconds, if you can believe that. Not only that, but it has 4 doors, has a good sized back seat, comes in manual, it's very luxurious, and its engine is very reliable. Now, it might not be the best looking out of the bunch, but I personally don't mind the styling of it, and the best part about it is the price. Yes, they might be a little bit high mileage compared to the German and American car models, but we all know that Japanese motors are the most reliable. And you can find G37 sedans in manual, rear-wheel drive for around $12,000. Now, the only catch is, at least for me, in the Northeast, they're really hard to find. Most of the G37s here, the manual ones, are the coupe models, and the sedan ones are mostly either automatic or all-wheel drive. And so the manual ones that only come in rear-wheel drive, most people didn't buy them due to the snow in the Northeast. So they're very hard to come by. All right, that's it. That's my top 5 list. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Like, comment, and subscribe. And comment below, what do you guys think? Is there anything I missed? Anything you guys would place on your list? And if so, comment below, hit that notification bell, and please subscribe, and I'll check you guys out. See you guys next time. Peace.